We've just seen how table is implemented in Ng Bootstrap. Let's just try to do the same over here. So this statement wasn't needed anymore. Let's just start with a table. What I'm right now doing is essentially creating the headers. As we can see, we have 7 headers. So 6, and it makes it 7. Now below, we are going to be creating a T body. And then here, individual row will have a row selection like this. It'll be 7 in number. All right. So those who are aware about the older version of Angular may notice that the way we write for loop in Angular 17 is slightly different from what it used to be until Angular 16, right? So here we have a for loop which we can define in a manner in which I'm writing right now. This way, if any one of you is familiar with React, you would notice that the syntax has become a little closer to it, although it is not exactly a JSX, however, very much closer, similar looking. Let's just write the else block here. It tells me what to write in case there are no record available here. No records to show. Now, right. Just divide the screen into 2 halves. So far, we have not really defined the student's property in a component. Student property, I have basically copied a response. I've, I have dummy data with me. That is what we are going to be using in this case. Let me just copy it and put it here. A semicolon over here. Now we're good to go. Let's just write down the number of header that we are going to be writing. So first is the number. Next is name. Next is country. The next is math and computers. Similarly over here, we will have to write down what is that we're going to be displaying. So if you notice, all the for loop starts with 0. However, on our table, we want it to be displayed with number 1, not with 0. So that's the reason why I have added +1 here on the I. The I will essentially keep an index of the records which are being displayed on the table. Let's just write down win dot name and just copy this over here. You can select a text on VS Code and press Ctrl D. It will try to put will try to copy all the similar text across the file as in when you start pressing Ctrl D, and you'll be able to edit them all in one go. So first we have written name, write down country. Next is 6, 3, math, and computer. So I think so far our application is corrected. Now let's just see quickly how it behaves in the browser. Let me go to the VS Code. This is how it looks. Right now, it does not really have any styling for that matter. And we really need to bring in styles from Bootstrap. In order to do that, let's just go back to VS Code. And let's just put these styles in. So here in the table, the classes which I'm going to be using is table and table striped. Let's just put this here. And you had also noticed that table in the browser, the table was touching both the sides of the browser wall. Basically, we need to put this in a container. Let's just this here. Define. Let's define a div and copy this entire table at this div. Inst record. I had created this class already earlier. So I basically put 16 pixel of space around the grid or around the table. And then next class I'm going to be using for my table is record table. So it is just to basically bring in a border around my table. With that, let's just quickly look at browser and see how our table looks like now. If you look at the browser, the table is much better now. It isn't as it should be, but then it is much better looking the way it was looking earlier. If you notice, there is another difference here. So if you see in the country, we only have the country name. We do not really have, if you notice another thing here in this grid is that against the name, we don't have the student's image displayed. We also need to display student's image the way we have displayed it over here. And let's just go to our VS Code once again. And let us see how our response looks like. And then we will try to put this image next to the country name. We have a property available called student's image. This image can be shown against the student's name in the country column. So let's just try to put this also in here. So we have this as a country flag. Let's put another flag called image. Just put another tag called image. student image, and this is going to be the src. Also, I don't think so we need quotes around here. Let me just remove the quotes, and then also will highlight with width as 20 pixel. Now we will go back to browser and try to see if this has worked or not. Let's just select the browser again. There you go. Now we can see student's image next to the country name displayed here on the table. So far, we do not have any error in the console either. So we are successful this far. Let's move to the next important thing that we need to implement is the search panel there in the top. We need to implement a search panel in the top. For that, let's just go back to the Ng Bootstrap website. And here is what we really need to implement. So this is essentially a text box, and this text box has a search feature. Let's say if I try to do, it will just go in the country table and we'll just highlight that, as you can see over here. I just try to implement this by going to the VS Code. We need a search button at the top. That's going to be part of a form. Please note that just for this tutorial, I'm not going to be deep diving into how this form works. It's a separate and a very interesting topic that I'll cover in the future. For now, I'm not going to be talking about forms. Forms is a very interesting part in Angular. The way forms work in Angular framework is pretty awesome. It's something which is probably the best that I've seen so far in the industry. So here in this tutorial, just follow along, and I'm not going to be explaining much about the form. We will see the forms in detail in next few lectures. But for now, let us just create a simple form, and then we'll just try to display that text box and search it around. Let's have a div inside a form, table, and then I need another div to basically display the input. The label is search text, and the form, we don't need any class, but here let's just define two classes. Let's just define this class here as well. By the way, all these MB3, margin bottom 3, and row, all these classes are Bootstrap classes. We will dive deep into Bootstrap and the styling of a component a little later. For now, just follow along and let's just write the code which I'm writing right now on your screen. So here on the div, I need another set of classes. This is going to be a smaller one, which is make the type of this as text. And then we'll define an important property called form control. As filter. We haven't defined the filter form control in our component. So let's just define that as well. As you can see, form control is not part of the component yet. So let's just include that here in our import. Forms module, form control, and form builder. We would need to import this form control. We need to import this form module here. The form builder will be used by the constructor. Properties, non-nullable. Now we have defined the filters here. Let's see if our application has compiled successfully or not. Go down here. Looks like an error. Reactive form module as well. So just copy this and here. All the errors here on our component and on our HTML file are gone. So you may have noticed previously, as you may have also noticed in the documentation, that Ng Bootstrap used ngb highlight. ngb highlight component was used to highlight that term. So let's just put the ngb highlight component inside our table. So here, instead of writing it like this, students.name, I think we can comment this. Name goes here. We're going to be making, let's just copy this. Physics. This is going to be chemistry. It's going to be math. This is going to be computer. Now let's just define it properly. Let us just comment all of this. Here it is going to be country. And here is going to be the name. You notice here the ngb highlight is not recognized by Angular. Let's look at the error that it shows. It says property computer does not recognize. So there is a typo mistake here. Let's correct this quickly. Now it says NGB highlight is an Angular component and it has result input. The verified included in the component imports of this component. If NGB highlight is a web component, then custom elements schema must be added. If you notice, this is a component that we wish to use, and we have not really included that in the imports. How do we import that here? We will have to basically import another module. It's going to be a part of Ng Bootstrap. So here is the list of all the components that it can import. Let's just include the NGB highlight and put that here in our import. Let's just put from here. Wait for a moment. There is another property in the NGB highlight which we need to define, which is the term. The term essentially means that it will try to match result with the term. The term is the term user enters. What we need is filter dot value. Let's just come here and write down term. And I think now all the errors are gone. Let us just wait to compile. It has compiled successfully. Now let's go back to the browser and see if that's correctly working or not. As you can see, it is essentially highlighting. Let's say that you can see that this text is being highlighted. So far it is good. There are no console errors here. I guess we have done everything good so far. Now let's just move forward.